The humble housekeeper saves the millionaire's daughter from fire. What he saw left him shocked. Lucas had always been the quiet shadow in the grand Sinclair mansion. Just a housekeeper who moved silently through endless halls, unnoticed and unheard. No one saw him and no one listened. But that night changed everything. A brutal storm slammed against the windows, lightning tearing the sky apart, casting eerie, flickering shadows over chandeliers dripping with crystal tears. The air was thick with tension, like the mansion was holding its breath. Then, suddenly, a roar. Flames exploded from somewhere deep inside, devouring the ancient wood with a furious hunger. Smoke billowed, thick and choking, twisting around corners, swallowing light. Panic erupted. Servants screamed. Guests ran. But for Lucas, all the noise faded when he heard it. A faint, desperate cry. It was soft, barely there, but burning into his mind like a flare. He raced blindly toward the sound, heart pounding so hard his ears rang. The doors ahead were warped and melting from the heat, a glowing nightmare of twisted metal and blistering wood. Behind one of them, he spotted her, Emilia Sinclair, the wealthy and mysterious daughter of the iron-fisted patriarch. She was trembling, eyes wide with terror, trapped in a cage far more dangerous than the fire. Silence and fear. Lucas's hands shook as he forced the door open, the fire's heat biting into his skin like burning knives. He snatched her up, her body light, but her terror heavy in his arms. The flames roared behind them, a raging beast that wanted to claim them both. But Lucas didn't stop. Step by step, breath ragged and lungs burning, he carried Emilia out. When the smoke finally cleared, Lucas expected relief. Thankful tears, soft words, a quiet victory. Instead, what he saw stopped him cold. Emilia was not just scared. She looked haunted. Her eyes flickered with a secret, something that gnawed at Lucas's bones. She wasn't just the fragile heiress. No, there was something deeper, darker, tangled in lies no one knew about. A betrayal that whispered through the cracked walls of the mansion, waiting to be uncovered. His mind raced. Why was she so afraid? What secrets had she hidden behind that terrified gaze? And could he trust what he'd just uncovered? The night wasn't over. The fire had blazed the trail of destruction, sure, but the real danger was just beginning. Shadows loomed, silent and patient, and Lucas suddenly realized saving Emilia was just the first chapter of a much darker story. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lucas blinked against the smoke still swirling around them. Emilia's eyes were wide, haunted, and he felt a pull in his gut, a fear that something darker loomed beneath her terrified surface. The crowd had gathered outside, faces painted with shock under the flickering glow of the firelight. "Emilia," he whispered, clutching her shoulder, "you're safe now." But she didn't respond in the way he expected. Instead, her trembling lips parted, and in that moment, something shifted. A look of realization flickered across her face, like a shadow darting through the corners of her haunted gaze. I have to go," she stammered, pulling away. "The others need me." "The others?" Lucas's brow furrowed. "What do you mean? We can't go back in there." Suddenly, the wind howled louder, and with it, a piercing scream erupted from the crowd outside. Lucas turned to see a figure breaking free from anxious whispers. It was Mr. Sinclair, Emilia's father. His face was a mask of fury and something else, something he couldn't quite place. "Emilia!" Get away from him, he bellowed, his eyes
locking in on Lucas, venomous and sharp. A chill crawled up Lucas's spine. "What?" he gasped. "What's going on?" "Stay out of this," Sinclair shot back, shoving past stunned onlookers, his gaze fixated on his daughter. "You don't know who you're dealing with." Emilia shrank back, her expression changing from fear to something else, something darker. Lucas's heart thundered in his chest. "Sinclair, stop. Let her breathe." "No." Emilia's voice cut through the chaos. "He's telling the truth. You don't understand." But, before she could finish, Mr. Sinclair lunged. In one swift motion, he pulled a small, glinting object from his pocket, a blade, catching the light as he raised it towards Lucas. "Stay back," Lucas shouted, holding his hands up. "I saved her." "Saved her?" Sinclair laughed, madness creeping into his voice. "You think you're a hero? You don't know what lies beneath this house. You don't know what she is." Emilia's breath hitched, and Lucas watched in disbelief as her eyes flickered between her father and him. "No, please," she cried. "What's going on?" Lucas demanded, each word feeling heavier than the last. And then, the unexpected twist, a harsh thud against the door they had just escaped. Another burst of noise came from inside the mansion. People murmured, fear rippling through the crowd, transforming gasps into whispers. From the shadows of the burning darkness, a figure emerged. It was a woman, her face smudged with soot, but unmistakably familiar. "Mom," Emilia whispered, astonishment flooding her voice. Lucas staggered back, disbelief washing over him. "Your mother, but she—" Sinclair's face twisted, rage boiling over. "You shouldn't have come back, Laura." Reality shattered around them. Lucas could barely process the reveal. Emilia's mother, thought lost years ago, was alive? And her father, what did he mean by all this? The truth began to unravel. Threads of lies and dark family secrets weaving a tapestry too complicated to comprehend. Lucas's chest tightened. What had he stumbled into? "Emilia," he started, his voice trembling. She turned to him, eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and accusation. "It's worse than you think." Before he could grasp her meaning, a loud crack echoed through the air, another door being forced open. An ominous shadow crept outside, a new threat that beckoned him to the nightmare. What had he really saved her from? And now that the past was clawing its way to the surface, could anyone escape the shadows that haunted the Sinclair name? The heat from the flames danced in the air, blurring the scene as Lucas's mind raced. He stumbled backward, still gripping Emilia's shoulders, his heart hammering against his ribcage. Her mother, standing there alive, soot-streaked but radiating an undeniable fierceness, sent shockwaves through the crowd. "Mom," Emilia's voice cracked, a mix of joy and disbelief. But Laura didn't respond warmly. Instead, her gaze fixed on Sinclair, her expression shifting to something grave, almost mournful. Sinclair's eyes blazed with fury. "You should have stayed away, Laura. You've jeopardized everything." "Everything?" Laura shot back, her voice cold as ice. "You mean your twisted empire? The lies you built?" Lucas felt the weight of their words press down harder than the heat of the fire. What was going on? Emilia looked lost, caught between loyalties, her eyes darting from her father to her mother. "No, stop!" Emilia cried. "You're hurting us." But then another crack echoed, a shift in the air. The ground beneath them trembled, and a low rumble came from inside the mansion, louder this time. Ash. An ember swirled ominously, drowning out all rational thought. The crowd gasped, shifting uneasily. What was happening? And then it occurred to him. The fire was not just a disaster. No, it felt like a signal, a reckoning. Suddenly, something hurtled through the smoke. A large figure appeared, silhouetted against the flames. "Run!" a deep, desperate voice bellowed before it faltered. All eyes turned to see a man emerge, eyes wild, desperation etched onto his face. Lucas recognized him from the shadows of the mansion's parties, one of Sinclair's closest associates. "They're coming," he shouted, stumbling toward them as smoke billowed out like a tempest. "Who's coming?" Lucas instinctively stepped forward, heart racing.
They're not just fire. The
man gasped, leaning heavily against the shattered frame of the door, gripping it like a lifeline. We have to get to safety. Safety? Sinclair laughed bitterly. You think we can run from this? The debts? The enemies? Then suddenly, it hit him. Debts and enemies. Was this fire a warning? The truth slammed into Lucas. What if this was more than just a fire? What if these flames were purging something deeper? Lucas. Emilia's voice pulled him from his thoughts. I need to tell you something. Dad knows. But her words faded into the chaos. A shadow crashed against the mansion, and the crowd screamed, splitting into panic. Lucas turned just in time to see masked figures emerging from the smoke, wielding weapons, eyes glinting with intent. An attack? The realization struck him like a blow. Sinclair's face twisted in horror and anger. No, they can't be here. Not now. He turned, pushing Emilia behind him as if to shield her. But Laura stepped forward, a fierce resolve in her eyes. We don't have time for this. Emilia, listen to me. It's worse than you think. Beneath the chaos, Lucas felt a shiver of dread creep into his bones. Worse? What do you mean? He asked, desperation laced in his voice. Then, Laura's expression faltered. They've come for more than just your family, Emilia. They want the truth, and it lies with you. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Emilia's face drained of color. What are you talking about? Her voice shook, eyes darting between her mother and the approaching figures. But just as the truth threatened to break free, another figure emerged, this one towering and imposing, blocking their escape. The fire crackled behind them, casting the shadows of all present. You'll regret digging too deep, the newcomer sneered, a twisted smile spreading across his face. Lucas's mind raced, desire for answers battling against instinct to protect. Emilia, run! But before anyone could move, the ground trembled once again. This time, the walls began to crack, not just from the fire, but from something much deeper. What was truly hidden behind Sinclair's walls? What truth lay buried in flames? And who were they really running from? The fear surged, and Lucas realized saving Emilia wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a nightmare he couldn't save them from. Lucas's heart raced, the heat from the flames wrapping around him like a living thing. The chaotic crowd was a blur, their faces twisted in fear, as yet more shadows poured forth from the mansion's depths. It felt like a trap closing in, the air thick with smoke and confusion. Who's coming? He shouted, trying to drown out the chaos. He needed answers. We have to go. Stay together, the frazzled man insisted, his hands trembling. Emilia gripped Lucas's arm, her voice trembling. What does she mean? What truth? Before anyone could answer, a loud roar echoed from within the mansion, as if the very walls themselves were lamenting. The ground shook violently. Lucas could feel the tremors in his bones. They were running out of time. Just then, the masked figure surged forward. Eyes glinted in the firelight, filled with a sinister hunger. Lucas's instincts kicked in. He encouraged Emilia to move, pushing her behind him. Run! We have to get to safety. But before they could escape, a sudden blast of light erupted from the mansion. The fire ignited in a vivid, blinding flash that sent shadows. Skittering like frightened mice, the crowd gasped and time stretched for a moment, a gut-wrenching stillness enveloping everything. Then, in an unfathomable twist, a voice sounded from the center of the blaze, thick like smoke but laced with authority. Enough. Lucas squinted against the heat and found himself staring at a figure emerging from the fire. A woman, tall and fierce, walking unscathed through the flames. Her presence commanded attention, as though she were the eye of the storm. No fear in her eyes, only unyielding strength. Laura, Emilia's mother whispered, bewilderment flooding her voice. But there was something off. Lucas felt a chill creep up his spine. The woman was radiating confidence, yes, but the way her lips curled into a predatory smile suggested something different. Surprised to see me? She asked, her gaze sweeping over the crowd, meeting each terrified pair of eyes as if she were the queen of a fractured kingdom. "What's happening?" Lucas managed, his voice barely a whisper. Cold dread pooled in his stomach. "Did you really think I would stay hidden? I've waited long enough," she declared, her voice rising above the chaos. "You thought the fire was an accident? It's my rebirth." The crowd shifted uneasily. Was it disbelief or unsettling recognition? Emilia's features twisted in confusion, her brow furrowing, a lump forming in her throat. "Mom, please, you're scaring me." "Scaring you?" Laura laughed, but it was hollow. "You think you know pain? You've been sheltered in these walls, Emilia. It's time you learn the truth. After all, you carry the legacy." "What legacy?" Lucas's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" "They want you." Laura's voice boomed, causing people to jump. A tense silence fell. "The enemies have come for you, my daughter. They want what you hold." A gasp rippled through the crowd, whispers racing like wildfires among onlookers. "What do I hold?" Emilia demanded, fear and anger battling in her voice. But Laura's eyes shifted to Lucas, as if he were the key. "It's not just you, Lucas. You're part of this too." This was. Never just about the Sinclair name. You have a role to play, a truth hidden away deep inside you. Everything shifted again, like the ground beneath them was crumbling. Lucas staggered, feeling reality bending. "What are you saying?" His pulse raced, sweat dripping from his brow. But before Laura could answer, the ground trembled again, louder this time, sunken beneath their feet. In that split second, with the world unraveling around them, Laura took a step forward, her voice like silk. "You are a key, Lucas, and the flames have awakened something that was meant to stay buried." He lost his breath. The revelation gripped him like ice. What was hidden? What truth did this fire awaken? And just how deep did this darkness run? In that moment, as air thickened and shadows loomed, Lucas knew. Saving Emilia had only ignited a storm that could consume them all. The heat from the flames danced in the air, blurring the scene as Lucas's mind raced. Emilia stood beside him, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. But Laura stood fierce, tension crackling like the fire around them. He could barely hear her words over the roaring flames. "I told you to stay away." Emilia's voice trembled as she reached for her mother, but Laura stepped back, almost as if she were afraid of her own daughter. "The truth is more dangerous than fire." "Emilia," Laura argued, her voice rising. But in that chaos, everything shifted. A sudden tremor rocked the ground, more violent this time. Lucas fumbled to keep his balance, his heart pounding as the crowd screamed in panic. The walls shook, and for a heartbeat, everything felt like it would collapse. "What's happening?" Lucas shouted, fighting to keep his mind together. But there was no time, as the tremors morphed into a dangerous rumble. Something was breaking within the mansion. Something that shouldn't be disturbed. Just then, the smoke twisted and coiled, forming into dark shapes. Shadows emerged, not just masked figures from the fire, but something more. They were human shapes, but somehow distorted, faces featureless. Eyes horrifying voids searching for something. "Run!" Lucas yelled, instinct kicking in, pushing Emilia and Laura behind him. But another figure stepped into view, silhouetted against the glowing blaze, its presence stronger and more commanding than Laura's. "Enough of this!" the figure roared, stepping through the crackling flames without flinching. Every eye turned to him, shock echoing through the crowd. "Who are you?" yelled Sinclair, his voice trembling slightly, as fear crept into his authoritative tone. The figure paused, glancing around, as if assessing the situation. Then, in a booming voice, he spoke. "You've made a mess of things, Sinclair. It's time to reveal what you've hidden away." Lucas's heart raced. Who was this man? And what did he mean by hidden? But then a sickening realization washed over him. As the crowd held its breath, the mystery figure reached into his coat, pulling out something dark, shiny. It was a compact mirror. but unlike any mirror they had seen before, swirling with shadows and glowing with an otherworldly light. The air thickened as he extended it toward Emilia. "Do you understand now?" the figure hissed, his voice low and haunting. Emilia recoiled, terror etched across her face. Understand what? But before she could answer, her hands trembled, and the mirror's surface rippled like water. "They've been protected, but you are the reason for the darkness. You carry the bloodline of the lost, the cursed. This fire is just a spark. The real chaos is only just beginning." "How dare you?" Laura shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. Rage flickered across her face as she stepped protectively in front of Emilia. "You don't know what you're talking about." But the figure just laughed, a cold, menacing sound that cut through the cacophony. "Oh, but I do. Your family's past is a legacy of betrayal, and it will consume you if you don't embrace it." Lucas felt smoke burn in his lungs as everything around him shifted. The flames roared louder, wrapping around them, like a sentient thing of power. Then it happened. Emilia gasped, her hands reaching toward the mirror, and in that instant, the world blurred. The air snapped like a taut string, and the crowd screamed as the mirror glowed brighter, a blinding flash exploding outward. And in that moment, everything changed. The shadows emerged from the fire, revealing their true forms, people they recognized, whose faces they had thought lost, twisted in agony and anger. The crowd froze in horror. "Laura!" Emilia shrieked, shaking with fear, realization dawning in her voice. You knew all along." The truth crashed over Lucas like a wave, sharp and heavy. What had he stumbled into? What lay beneath the surface of this fire, this family? There it was, tangled in the debris of their lives, secrets that would expose them all. He felt suffocated by the weight. And then he felt it. The ground trembled again, but this time it was different. It wasn't just shaking. It was a heartbeat, pulsing with rage. What had they awakened? With the world swirling into chaos, Lucas could only hold on to Emilia, his heart racing, desperate for answers. The nightmare had only just begun, and the flames were far from extinguished. The mirror glimmered ominously as the figure loomed over them. Lucas's stomach twisted. Emilia looked terrified, her widened eyes darting between the figure and her mother. The air felt electric with fear and uncertainty. "Do you really think I'd let this go?" the man sneered, pushing the mirror closer to Emilia. Shadows swirled within its depths, twisting like smoke. Lucas's heart raced, urging him to act. "Emilia, don't touch it," he shouted, stepping between her and the mirror, instinct kicking in. But she hesitated, fear wrestling with curiosity. "What does it do?" she whispered, trembling. "It's not what it does," the man laughed, a sound that chilled Lucas to his core. "It's what it reveals. This is your moment, Emilia. Embrace it." "Embrace what?" Laura shouted, her voice cracking with desperation. "You're not taking her." And just like that, the evening exploded. With a sudden crack, the ground seemed to cave under them. Lucas barely managed to hold his footing as chaos erupted around him. Everything changed in an instant. From the depths of the mansion, a blinding light surged forth. The air screamed with energy, and in the blink of an eye, the shadowy figures dissolved into thin air, vanishing as if they'd never been there. But the man remained, anchored by the chaos, a victorious glint in his eye. What just happened?" Lucas gasped, trying to make sense of the whirlwind. As the dust settled, Emilia staggered, confusion twisting her features. "That was what?" "Emilia, we need to move," Lucas urged, glancing back at the man where flames flickered like hungry tongues. But as they turned, something unbelievable unfolded. Laura stepped toward the man with a resolute posture, a deep calm spreading across her face that shook Lucas to his core. "You shouldn't have come back," she said, her voice eerily steady. The man smiled, and Lucas felt a chill creep down his spine. "Ah, Laura,
You are still as defiant as ever." They all stared in disbelief. What was this connection? "What do you mean?" Emilia asked, her voice barely above a whisper, confusion gripping her. "Mom?" Lucas blurted, but he was too stunned to absorb what was happening. "It's time for the truth," Laura said, stepping toward the figure, eyes brightened with intensity. "You can't keep running from your past. You're the one who ended it all." "What are you talking about?" Emilia cried, urgency rising in her voice as she gripped Lucas's arm. Before he could respond, the mirror erupted with a searing light. The ground shook once more, and suddenly, dark tendrils slithered from the mirror, snaking toward them, a living shadow reaching for life. Lucas stepped back, heart pounding. "Get away." But Laura held firm. "No, Emilia. It's time you understand." And then and drowning out the sound of the fire. In that moment, Laura transformed. Before their eyes, her form shimmered, revealing not the woman they knew, but something other than human, powerful, and ancient. "You thought I was hiding?" she exclaimed, voice twisting with intensity, laced with inclinations from a distant time. Emilia's breath hitched. "Mom, no. No more lies," Laura shouted, the weight of her words echoing like thunder. The crowd gasped, hearts collectively stopping. "Your lineage is more significant than you imagine. Embrace your power, Emilia," she urged, the familiar warmth from before replaced by something dire and foreboding. Lucas staggered back, shock draining his sanity. "You're not who I thought you were," he stammered. The world tilting beneath him. Anguish twisted his gut. What had he stumbled upon? Whose side was he even on? As shadows crept around them, Lucas's heart raced. He felt the pull of darkness creeping closer. The fire behind them was nothing compared to the chaos that loomed ahead. A web of secrets unfurling into the night. As the non-human Laura turned her gaze on him, it became clear. Everything he believed had been a trick. "You're in this deeper than you think, Lucas," she stated with chilling gentleness. Time froze as the air froze with tension. Could he trust her? Would Emilia still want to fight alongside him? And in that haunting silence, a whisper of despair threaded through his mind. What truth had they unearthed that could tear their world apart? The air felt heavy, charged with secrets thick enough to cut. Emilia stood frozen beside Lucas, staring at her mother. No, not her mother. Not the gentle woman she remembered. This was something else, something powerful. The shadows swayed, and the flames danced eagerly, as if hungering for this revelation. "What did you mean by legacy?" Lucas pressed, eyes darting between Laura and Emilia, desperate to grasp the unraveling thread. But the answer eluded him. The crowd murmured restlessly, caught in the fray of disbelief and confusion. Laura's eyes blazed, filled with a consuming fire. "This is your destiny, Emilia. The curse that binds our family is yours to break." Emilia flinched, stumbling backward. "I don't want any part of this," she cried, her voice shaking. Panic rippled through Lucas, realizing the gravity of the moment. They were standing on the brink of something terrifying. Before any words could form, there was an ear-splitting crack. The foundation of the mansion trembled again, and the mirror pulsed, pulsing with light that was both alluring and menacing. Suddenly, the entire world seemed to freeze, every person around them caught in a moment of sheer horror. Something was coming. And then, just as quickly, it happened. The ground beneath them split open, a black chasm opening wide, revealing a swirling tempest of darkness. The people standing close reeled back, screams echoing, a mad rush of panic ripping through the crowd. "What is that?" Lucas shouted above the chaos, grabbing Emilia's arm, trying to pull her away. But the darkness was drawing them in, like a flood tide. "Not yet," Laura shouted, her voice thunderous. She extended a hand toward the chasm, as if trying to command it. The shadows squirmed, responding to her call. "You need to see this." And then the swirling mass erupted, shooting up around them like a geyser. Lucas shielded Emilia, horrified, as memories poured forth, visions, faces, and voices flooding the air. whispers of betrayal, laughter mixed with screams, the echoes of a past they didn't know existed. Lucas saw his own memory reflected in the chaos. Moments from childhood he thought long buried. Confused and terrified, he looked for Emilia, but she was staring into the darkness, eyes glazed over, as if she were also drawn into the void. "Emilia," he shouted, tugging her arm hard. "We have to go." But she didn't budge. "Wait, I see them. I see the truth." Her voice trembled, a mix of wonder and horror. "No, you need to fight it," he yelled, panic rising in his throat. Then everything shifted. A figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted against the swirling haze. A younger version of Laura stepped forth, but there was something chillingly different.
Her eyes glinted with a cold light that wasn't her mother's warmth. "Who are you?" Lucas gasped, the weight of realization crashing down. "I am what you've been searching for, Emilia," the figure said. Laura's own voice echoed back through the shadows, twisted and warped, as if mocking them. What the hell is happening? Lucas felt the ground shake beneath him, his heart racing. The truth hit hard. "Your mother, she's not who you think she is," the dark figure sneered, a cruel smile curving her lips. "You're the last of us, still shackled to the family binds, but I am free." A gasp spread through the crowd as shock morphed into terror. Emilia stepped back, her face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" The dark figure laughed, cold, haunting, the sound echoing into the void. "You think her love has shielded you? No, Emilia. Freedom lies within your blood, and it's time you embraced your true heritage." Lucas felt the air seem thin, suffocating. Memories twisted around him. Everything he thought he understood fell away, like ash. Who was this creature? And if it was what lay within Emilia, what had Laura truly sacrificed? "No!" Emilia screamed, shaking her head in disbelief. Tears filled her eyes. "Stop this!" Before Lucas could grasp the weight of it all, darkness surged forward like a living wave, sweeping over them, engulfing everything. "Emilia!" "Hold on." As the void closed in, Lucas's mind raced. Who had revealed the truth? And what else was hidden? In this moment, everything teetered on the edge of revelation. But with the chasm forming around them, where would they go? What if the real danger wasn't just the fire, but a truth that could tear them all apart? The darkness surged forward like a living wave, a scream swelling in Lucas's chest. He gripped Emilia's arm tighter, panic rising as the air thickened around them. "Emilia, we have to get out, now!" But she was frozen, eyes wide, staring into the swirling void. "I can see them, Lucas. I can see the truth." "Don't look!" Lucas shouted, fear clawing at his throat. The shadows twisted and danced, rushing toward them, suffocating. As whispers emerged from the depths, voices of anguish rising into a cacophony that shook the very ground beneath their feet. "No!" The dark figure laughed, the sound crackling like fire. "Embrace your legacy. You're the key." Tremors shook the earth as Emilia stepped back, fear and confusion splintering her resolve. "No, you're lying." Her voice cracked, but pleading echoing through the chaos. With one swift movement, Lucas pushed himself forward, blocking her view of the abyss. "You have to listen to me. We can't let this pull you in." But the ground beneath them shuddered violently, and for a moment, a gaping maw opened wide, revealing unspeakable horrors, faces twisted in grief and betrayal. The air thickened with despair. "Emilia, look at me," Lucas cried, grasping her shoulders, eyes pleading. "Focus on my voice. We need to fight, together." And just then, something fractured in the air, a spark of light breaking through the darkness. The mirror pulsed, illuminating everything around them. "Truth is not what it seems," the dark figure screamed, eyes wild with desperation. Lucas felt the ground shift again, a crack splitting the earth, revealing something buried deep beneath, a long-hidden truth that throbbed with energy. Before he could react, Emilia stepped forward, her eyes glazed over, enchanted by the light. What if I'm meant to know?" No, Emilia, don't. But the words faded as the light enveloped her in a dazzling blaze. Then it happened. The darkness recoiled, shrieking in fury. The swirling chaos that surrounded them shattered like glass, splinters of shadow bursting apart, revealing a secret that none of them anticipated. From the heart of the mirror, a figure stepped out. A woman, a mirror image of Laura, but with eyes like cold steel, and a smirk that sliced through the tension. "Surprised to see me?" she sneered, stepping forward with authority. Who are you?" Lucas's voice trembled, realization dawning as horror gripped his heart. "I'm the one who's been waiting." The figure's smile widened, twisted with malevolence. "You've been living a lie, Emilia. A beautiful, devastating lie." "What?" Emilia's voice slipped through the air, trembling and horrified. "The power is yours, child, but it comes at a cost." The woman gestured toward Laura, whose expression turned from shock to an unreadable mix of emotions. "Did you really think she protected you? She's held the truth back, hidden you from your own birthright." Lucas's heart raced as he looked between them. "But she's your mother. Why would she hide anything?" Laura's face twisted with anguish, her walls crumbling, voice barely above a whisper. "I did it to protect you. I couldn't let them take you too." The dark figure laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Protect or control? The truth isn't pretty, Laura. You let fear dictate your choices." Emilia swayed, caught between the two. "What have you done, Mom?" With a sudden surge, the shadows around them coiled tighter, a living entity. Lucas felt the heat of the moment rise, a pulse of impending doom. "We need to get out of here." But the dark figure pointed, and in that instant, the mirror exploded. Fragments shot into the air, showering them with shimmering light. Shadows erupted, swirling around them like a tempest, and Lucas felt an overwhelming sense of dread. "What is happening?" he shouted over the chaos. "Embrace your power, Emilia," the dark figure urged, eyes gleaming as the shadows danced at her feet, eager and alive. And like a wave crashing against the shore, it all became clear. Emilia was not just the innocent daughter trapped in this nightmare. She was a vessel, a key to untold depths of darkness. "Emilia, you have to choose," Lucas screamed, desperation fueling his voice. Then everything froze. A deafening silence filled the space, as if the world had paused, waiting for her decision. The shadows shifted, coiling like snakes, and in that moment of stillness it all unraveled. Truths twisted, loyalties shattered, futures rewritten. A heartbeat later, the ground quaked violently. What would she choose? And as the shadows reached for them, Lucas realized they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for more than they had ever known. The ground quaked beneath them, thrumming with life and shadows, as Emilia stared into the swirling void that had become so much more than just darkness. Lucas held her shoulders, desperation clawing at his heart. "Focus on me. We need to fight this together." But before Emilia could respond, a sudden surge of power shot through the air, sending a wave of heat crashing against them. The shadows recoiled as if burnt by an invisible flame. Lucas squinted, shielding his eyes against the blinding light. And in that moment of chaos, a voice echoed, deep, resonant, cutting through the madness like a knife. "You're all so naive." Time froze. The dark figure's laughter twisted into something chaotic. The mirror split open, revealing a new dimension within. From the vortex of light, a figure emerged, one they never expected to see. It was Sinclair, his face contorted into a wicked smile, eyes glimmering with malice as he stepped forward, unscathed, emerging from the void that had threatened to devour them all. Surprise. "Dad." Emilia's voice was a hoarse whisper, shock rippling through her. You're alive? I've always been watching, my dear." Sinclair's tone dripped with a mixture of pride and venom, the flames dancing behind him casting grotesque shadows across his features. This whole charade, this fire, it was all part of a bigger plan. A collective gasp ran through the crowd, their faces pale with disbelief.
Lucas could hardly breathe as despair gripped his heart. How could this be?
No, Laura choked out, stepping forward, her resolve cracking.
You were supposed to be gone. You couldn't come back.
Sinclair laughed, a deep, throaty sound that sent chills down Lucas's spine.
Oh, Laura, my dear, you thought you could run this family without consequence? I hid in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And now here we are.
But Emilia shook her head, confusion marring her features.
What are you talking about? Why would you do this? A twisted grin played on Sinclair's lips.
Because, my love, you're not just any Sinclair. You're the key to everything. An ancient line, with power beyond anything you can imagine. The fire was to awaken your gifts, and now you have the chance to embrace your true self.
No,
Emilia shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're manipulating me. Look around. Sinclair gestured wildly, indicating the shadowy figures swirling at the edges. Remnants of the past clawing to get in. All this chaos, what you see before you is a mere fraction of the power. The truth is far deeper, more twisted than you can fathom. Every word felt like a stab to Lucas's gut. This man was not just her father. He was a monster, hiding behind a father's facade.
Enough of this. Laura's voice rose, raw with fury and defiance.
You think just by revealing yourself, you've won? You're nothing but a coward. But Sinclair didn't flinch. He stepped closer, shadows swirling in tandem with his every move.
This is only the beginning, Laura.
You'll understand soon. Once Emilia embraces her destiny, the power will be ours again.
Lucas felt anger boil within him. You're lying. You're using her.
Sinclair's gaze flicked to him, dark and unsettling. And who are you to challenge me? You think you can protect her from what she truly is?
Suddenly, the mirror exploded in a burst of blinding light, scattering shards that shimmered like
stars. The shadows reacted violently, twisting and thrashing. Emilia's breath hitched, caught between fear and anger, trapped in the storm of conflicting thoughts.
Emilia, Lucas shouted, heart racing. Choose what you believe. Stay with me. But just as the chaos surged, another figure manifested from the shards. A woman with fiery red hair and eyes like molten silver. She stepped forward, face taut with anger. You should have left her alone.
Mom?
Emilia gasped, disbelief echoing in her voice.
I'm here to stop this, once and for all.
As the new woman advanced, shadows converged around Sinclair, pulling at him like a dark tidal wave. And then it hit Lucas. A shocking revelation that sent his
mind reeling. This was no ordinary confrontation. This was a family war, a battle for power and truth, stitched together by blood and deception. The connections were deeper than he ever realized. What secret lay buried in the Sinclair name? Would Emilia choose her father's twisted legacy or the truth her mother now represented? The shadows tightened, but the choice hung in the air, ready to ignite. What would Emilia do? In that moment, with so much at stake, the storm began to rise, and Lucas knew. Everything they thought they understood was about to shatter once again. The shadows writhed, cloaking them in darkness as Sinclair's malevolent grin widened. Emilia trembled, caught in the crossfire of truth and betrayal. Lucas felt the heavy weight of each moment, dragging time into suffocating silence.
Embrace your power, Emilia, the dark figure urged, tension thickening the air.
Laura stepped forward, eyes blazing with determination.
This is not your legacy, Sinclair.
Legacy can be a choice, Sinclair hissed,
his voice laced with venom, and this moment is hers to seize. Emilia's resolve wavered. No, I refuse to be part of your twisted game. Her voice cracked, desperation bubbling to the surface as tears brimmed in her eyes.
Why wouldn't you want true power? Sinclair's tone turned mocking.
It's in your blood. Laura's expression twisted into something fierce. Your blood is nothing but a chain, Sinclair. Emilia
chooses her path, regardless of what you want. An electric pulse surged through the air, uniting mother and daughter.
You don't own her power,
Lucas shouted, stepping protectively in front of Emilia, fists clenched. The tension spiraled, crackling like live wires ready to snap.
Stay with me, Emilia, he whispered, fervor igniting in his chest. We can fight this together. With determination, Emilia squared her shoulders, facing her father. I'm not a weapon for your ambitions. He laughed, the darkness swirling around him like a command. You think you have a choice? You've already been drawn into this. But then, clarity struck Emilia like a lightning bolt. The shadows recoiled, and she stepped toward the swirling
Chaos of darkness, heart pounding with purpose. I choose love, not fear, she declared, fiery resolve lighting her gaze. Time hung suspended. Sinclair's eyes narrowed, fury brewing.
You'll regret this, Emilia.
And then, with an earth-shattering roar, Emilia raved her arms, summoning the light from the depths within. The mirror erupted, sending shards of brilliance slicing through the darkness, and the shadows shrank back in terror. They twisted, fuming, intertwining her head with Emilia. With a united front, they thrust their arms forward, an overwhelming wave of light cleaving through the shadows, driving them back, dismantling the darkness that Sinclair had harnessed. No, Sinclair shouted, eyes wide with disbelief as the light enveloped him, consuming his malice, stripping him of power. You fools! With a final push, the amassed energy surged, and the shadows evaporated into puffs of smoke. Leaving the remnants,
It's over, Emilia whispered, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks as she glanced at Lucas, her heart beating fiercely in tandem with his. Laura nodded, her voice thick with emotion. You've chosen your path, my brave daughter. This is your legacy, one born from love, not fear. A shared understanding passed between them, woven into the fabric of their connection. But the shadows would linger. Their battle was won, but the war was far from over. Emilia turned to Lucas, resolve etched in her features. We've begun the journey of discovering the truth, together. He smiled, heart swelling with warmth and hope, always together. As dawn broke, casting golden rays over the ruins of the old mansion, the world around them shimmered with possibility. And as they stepped forward, hand in hand, they embraced the next chapter of their lives, untouched by darkness, united in purpose. This was just the beginning. You have to subscribe right now. Don't wait even one more second to share this incredible story with your friends. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm, and let's keep the story going together. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about the ending, because your voice matters. This is the moment to show your support. Share it with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Let's rally the community and ignite the discussion.